Today, I want to talk about the importance of asking the right questions. I always ask my grandfather, why do you answer a question with another question? And his answer was, why not? But in all seriousness, asking the right question will help you understand better who your clients are, who are the attendees of your meetings are, and what is exactly the challenge that they are facing in their business life so that you can help them and be positioned more as a strategic partner. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. Today, I'd like to speak about the questions, the quality of the question you're asking your customer, and how this is impacting everything you're doing for them and how they perceive you. In other words, how you can be positioned more as a strategic partner than an order taker. My grandfather always said, as a joke, when I was asking him, but why do you always answer a question with another question? And he said, why not? So the quality of the question is extremely important. I'm going to give you some example, but the most important thing that you need to understand is how you asking question is going to position yourself in a completely different way. I'll give you an example. If I come to you and you are my customer and you are the commercial director of company XYZ, and I said, how many people are coming? How many sleeping room do we need? Do you want a welcome cocktail? Do you want a farewell dinner? You automatically putting yourself in the box that they always see a lot of us in the industry. In other words, as order taker and specialists of logistics, which again are extremely important, but logistics in itself is not enough. So instead of that, if I come and say, instead of asking those questions, I go, well, if I understand well, your industry is now facing those and those challenges. And from what I heard and what I read and the people I've talked to in your company, these are the 2 or 3 main objectives you're trying to reach in the following 12 months. Is that correct? So immediately position yourself in a completely different way. And they are starting to perceive you as a true strategic partner instead of a pure logistical specialist. So I'm going to give you now some concrete example to illustrate my point. And these are taken from the book I wrote a few years ago called Meeting at C-Level, an executive guide for driving strategy and helping the rest of us figure out what the boss wants. And in that book, I basically go through 7 steps when it comes to organizing any type of meeting, whether you're talking about a sales meeting, an incentive trip, a product launch, a conference, a trade show, whatever it is. Those are 7 steps to follow, and I will help you doing exactly what I was telling you about in terms of question and in terms of positioning you as a true strategic partner. So in order, there: understand, identify, design, execute, measure, follow up, and uniquely different. I'm not going to go into the details of each and every one of them, but I want to give you a few examples. So this example is about an insurance company that wanted to go to New York and do an incentive trip. And the commercial director asked me, can you put this incentive trip together? I say, sure, but can I ask you some question? I said, listen, I know you, I know your reputation, I know what you're doing. Please put together a great program to go to New York. And I said, I could have said at that moment, okay. Instead, I looked at him and said, can you give me 5 minutes? Look at your watch, 5 minutes of your time. And said, okay. And I started asking questions. And I find out during those 5 minutes that they had actually 2 main challenges. The first challenge is that they had 3 generations working together, actually working next to each other, but not really together. And the next challenge that they had was that some people in that company were working there for 20 years and they were blasé. Anything you do, they would be comparing, oh, this year we did that was better, or that was worse, whatever. But the other type of group of people were people that were actually there. They were the newbies and they were there for 2 years. So for them, anything would do. So 2 challenges: 1, 3 generation working in the same company, and 2, people that have been working there for 20 years or 2 years. Knowing that, yes, I did organize the incentive trip in New York, and we went doing an helicopter tour, and we had the police escort, and we had all those great things that you do when you go to New York, and we had the private breakfast with fashion show at the top of Saks Fifth Avenue. But that is not too complicated, right? If you work in this industry, you know the people. But what we did, we actually rented a music studio, the Sears studio in the meatpacking district that had 4 studios, 1 main and 3 small. And we worked with Andy Sharp and his company, Song Division. And actually, we brought the 120 people to that recording studio without saying anything. And they walk into the large studio, and a band was playing rock and roll. And the commercial director, Luke, look at the band, look at all the 100 plus people in the room. And he took the mic and he said, ladies and gentlemen, this one, he played with Billy Joel. This one played with Bruce Springsteen. This one, they were all rock star. You know the concept that Andy's company is doing. And then he looked at them and say, you're going to be split in 4 groups, and you're going to have 2 hours. 2 hours to find the tune on which you're going to play, and 1 musician will be with you. And 2 hours to write the words of a song that is summarizing what we've been doing together in New York the last 3 days. And we split the group in 4. What did we do? We split the group with people that were there, that were in the company for 20 years, and people that were in the company for only 2 years. And we split the group with people from the 3 generations in each group. And after 2 hours, they came back, the musicians got together, and they were able to record the song that they had prepared and playing it in front of the rest of their colleagues. And they thought it was over. And at night, we were staying at the W Times Square. We went out, we turned right and another right, and we started walking towards the Hard Rock Cafe on Times Square. And you see the marquee that is there on Hard Rock Cafe, Times Square. On the marquee, the logo of the company starts flashing. Everybody was like, wow. We had the special authorization to sit on the platform and to be there and taking pictures, small group by small group. And then we went down on the left with the main room. We had the dinner, and at the end of the dinner, the band came back, and everybody had the opportunity to play their song on stage. And the most entertaining songs of all, we brought the entire company, and they sang it together. And trust me, now, when they are watching a movie about New York, or when they see the ball falling on December 31st, they always remember that once in their life, they sang on the stage of the Hard Rock Cafe in New York. This would have never been possible without the 5 minutes I took at the beginning to ask questions about the strategy, about the challenges that they had, instead of just taking the order of doing an incentive program. So that's one example that I wanted to share with you. And I also want to share with you 2 other examples from the same program. And again, the idea is to understand your customer, to understand why they're doing and investing a face-to-face meeting, to understand who's coming and what is the outcome that they want to have. In this particular case, this was a company in media and entertainment music, and they were bringing their top client to a program, to an incentive program. And my client, the commercial director of that company, used to be in the military. And his clients knew that he was a veteran from the army, in this particular case, from the Belgian army. And so what we did, we were in Zimbabwe at Victoria Falls. And every night we were telling them how they should be dressed for the next morning, but they didn't know anything about the program. They had received a list of what to pack to come to the program, and they didn't know anything. So that night, my client came and spoke in front of his client and said, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow you're going to have a drop-off. And what is a drop-off? Well, we're going to drop you in small group in the bush with a guide. You'll have to answer some questions and resolve some cues. And at the end of it, that will bring you back to the hotel. The best group will probably going to take between an hour 30 and 2 hours. And if you find yourself still lost after 2 hours, call us and we'll come and pick you. And I'm talking about his clients. And they were thinking like, the guy is nuts. So we played the game until the end. And the next morning, they came small group by small group. We sent back 2 people that had forgot their hat and one that had forgot the sunscreen. And then we put them in a Jeep, and the first group went. And we were staying at the Hotel Elephant Hills, for those who know Victoria Falls. And they were out of sight from the rest of the group. We stopped the car, and my client looked at his client and said, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to walk. There's no drop-off. you're about to fly over Victoria Falls. And that obviously was a major surprise. Imagine if you and I are going there next week. We're going to think, okay, when is the helicopter fly? When is the helicopter fly? When is the helicopter fly? But when you don't know that's happening and you basically create a scenario to surprise people, the effect is multiplied by, I don't know how many, but it's major effect. And at the end of the day, the additional investment was just one more Jeep to rent from the morning. And again, the idea was to play on who were the people and what was the type of feeling that my client wanted to have. He wanted the people to remember that all their life, they will always remember what they've done and not just a nice program. And the second element, which basically linked to my sixth step about the follow-up, was the following. What we did when we were planning the meeting, we're going to have a day of rafting over there in Zimbabwe, in Vic Falls. Now, rafting is wonderful. And quite frankly, the toughest is not even the rafting, is not having breakfast on a sandy beach by the Zambezi for lunch or playing volleyball there. The toughest thing when you do the rafting and on the Zambezi over there is to walk out of the falls, basically to climb up. It's an interesting walk. It takes 20, 30 minutes, and it's challenging for some people. So we just waited for everyone to be up there. And when everybody had walked off the gorge of the Zambezi, we took a group picture. And why did we do that? Because we were doing the rafting on Friday, the 13th of February. And that year, doing the planning and the research, I realized that the 13th of February was a Friday, and the 13th of March was also a Friday. So you had two Friday the 13th in a row. And so a month later, when his client were back at home, my client sent that picture with a little word, "Don't worry, every Friday the 13th, you won't have to climb up the gorge of the Zambezi." And to this day, years later, I promise you, every Friday the 13th, they remember it. And we kind of text of each other, which is kind of funny so many years later. Then again, it's asking the question of what you want to be building. It's asking the question of what type of feeling do you want to create? Who are the people coming? What are the specificities of the people attending and of your client that you can play on? Those are little things, but trust me, asking the right question will set you apart from the competition. Asking the right question will allow you to understand better who's coming, what they're expecting, what you want to be creating. And asking the right question will position you as a true strategic partner. You will get that seat at the table. You will be called much earlier in the process. And at the end of the day, everybody will be more happy. You'll have a more fulfilling business, and you'll be helping your client much better. That's it for me today. I look forward to hearing from you and meeting you in the future. Bye-bye. So I hope the next time you meet with your customer, you will try this and ask questions, prepare those questions in advance, and position yourself more as a strategic partner. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to connect with me, please follow me on LinkedIn or go to the website eventbusinessformula.com, where you can find a lot of resources. And if you learn anything today, please share this podcast with your network. Thank you. Bye-bye.